All right, guys, so if you've seen my Instagram post from a few weeks ago, this is the bike that I unboxed that was missing the controller and the plate where the battery connects. So I reached out to the company. They sent me a new controller direct from China. It took about a week and a half to receive it. I got it put in, and today we're going to put the battery in the bike and test it out as far as power and speed goes, and a few other things just like all my other testing. Now, I was really excited to get this bike at first because on Amazon, they list this to have a 14 amp hour Samsung battery. Now, the cells in this battery might be an SA33G Samsung cell because that's what it states on the battery. So I'm assuming maybe that's the cell that's in these. That's one of the main reasons why I was interested in trying this bike out, because for about $1,100, you have to pay like $40 for shipping, and I think right now the bike currently, as of me filming this, is about $1,080. But I'll leave a link down below on Amazon to this if you guys are interested in picking one of these up. It will be an Amazon affiliate link, so I will make a small commission if you guys do use that. But a few things that I want to note is this thing looks really similar to the original Lectric XP. However, it does have the front suspension, which is nice, and a larger battery. So I was really excited to test this and put it up against the Lectric, maybe in some future videos. So long story short, I would say that the quality control on this bike is not very good for it to be missing the controller. Right here's a quick clip of when I realized and opened the thing up. Guys, I wasn't gonna do any voice in this unboxing. I was just gonna do a time lapse, but I had to record this. I am freaking amazed. I've never been this amazed during an unboxing in my life. So I opened up the frame to get the keys out and was wondering why there was no plug in the other side where the charge port is. There's no controller in this bike. It's missing the whole controller. It's missing the plate here where the battery connects to. I mean, how do you miss that? How do you miss the controller? That's one of the most important parts of an electric bike, and it's just not there. So their quality control is very lacking in that department. I was wondering why the motor wire was not connected. I've never seen a bike come where their motor wasn't connected. Well, the wire is probably attached to the controller. So how do you miss that? I don't understand. Unless somebody opened this box up and took it out after it was shipped, which I highly doubt, but that's just crazy to me. So I'm not gonna be able to test this bike out yet. I'm gonna have to reach out to the company and see if they could send me these parts. Not sure what they're gonna do, but that's just crazy in my opinion. Only thing I gotta do left here, guys, is install the rear rack. As you can see in the time lapse, I had to put the front wheel and the front fender on. That was no big deal. I still have to tighten up the handlebars yet and put the pedals on and put the rear rack on. Other than that, it was pretty easy assembly, but I gotta tell you guys, I've never been that surprised in my life during an unboxing. That's just crazy. One thing I want to mention is that this is not the seat post and seat that this bike comes with. The seat that it comes with is fairly hard and not a suspension post, but this is the Red Shift seat post that I've been trying out on my tests, seeing how I like it. And so far, guys, it is excellent. It is way more softer than the Zoom suspension seat post, but I'm going to do a full-on review of this later on. But it's pretty cool. You can adjust it with different springs for heavier riders and things like that. It is expensive, but I'll leave a link to that below as well if you guys are interested. And the bag, cell phone holder, all my accessories will be down in the description as always. I know this is a long beginning of the video and a little bit off from my normal videos, but I wanted to give you guys a background of just my experience with the bike so far. So I haven't ridden it at all yet. This is going to be the first test. Let's get the battery installed. This is a 4-inch folding fat tire version, and as far as I know, they don't have a direct website yet. So this bike is only available on Amazon. So that's one thing that I would be a little concerned about, is if you did need parts. I know a lot of Amazon sellers, sometimes stuff won't become available, and at that point, what do you do? So not saying that's what's going to happen, but just something to keep in mind, that it may be hard to get parts for this if you need them. Now, I didn't have any problems, like I said, with the controller then sending it to me. And one thing that was nice is that this controller didn't have a million wires to it like some of my other controllers, like on the Lectric. It just had basically like 5 wires to plug in. really easy. You didn't have a million separate wires to plug in, so that was one nice thing. It was very easy to install, so if you had to change it in the future, it would be very easy to change. And it is an 18 amp controller, just like the newer electrics. You do have to have the key in for the bike to turn on, which is nice in my opinion, because that's basically like an anti-theft thing. Somebody can't just turn your bike on and take off with it, but they can ride it away like a normal bicycle. So let's go ahead, jump on this thing, put it through some tests, and see what this bike can do. All right guys, I'm out on the bike, and the first thing I want to mention is throttle only works in PAS 0. It does not work in PAS 1 through 5. Now your PAS levels are adjustable. You can adjust them to have 3 levels of assist up to 9 levels of assist, but your throttle is only going to work when you're in PAS 0. And it's a half grip twist throttle on the right hand side. So let's see how fast we could do throttle only. 20, 21, 22, 20. So I would say right at about 20 miles per hour with throttle only, which is what they advertise. So that's nice that they advertise the correct speed. Was hitting 21 here and there, but for the most part, I would say 20 miles per hour. Now we're gonna go straight into max speed. So let's bump it up to PAS 5. This is PAS 5. Just pedaling, no throttle. We're gonna see what kind of speed we can hit. 22. $20, 21. So I would say it's about the same, guys, about 21 miles per hour max speed, between 20 and 21. Now, like I said, I didn't notice any way to go in the settings and change it to a class 3 e-bike, so keep in mind that's probably going to be the max speed of this bike. If I do figure out a way to change it, or if it's possible, I'll put that down in the description of this video or down in the comments. All right guys, so we're gonna test it out on this hill, throttle only. So I'm gonna be in PAS 0 for the throttle to work. The bike may not be as fast as the electric, but one thing I can say about this bike that I have noticed so far, and that is that the motor is very, very quiet on this bike. It's probably one of the quietest motors that I have on almost any of my bikes, and that was really surprising to me. So let's start out throttle only and see what this bike can do up this hill. See, I can't even really hear the motor. The motor is very quiet. I would say pretty comparable to the electric. The electric might have just a slight edge on power over this, maybe, but I'm telling you what, guys, it's pretty comparable as far as power. It pulled me up that hill almost all the way to the top. I probably could have let it go and it probably would have made it to the top. But yeah, not too bad, guys. Hey guys, check this out. There's no bell on this bike, but that horn is freaking pretty loud. To be honest, I probably wouldn't want to use that on the bike trail. You might scare somebody, but it's nice for riding on the road. And that horn is actually integrated into the light itself, into the front light. So let's test out the brakes on this bike. Now these are just mechanical brakes. They're not hydraulic, and I wouldn't expect them to be for the price point. They seem pretty good, no squeaks or squills going down this hill. See, 29, 30. So yeah, they stop pretty good. They're not bad at all. Not bad at all. All right, so let's try out different PAS levels and see what kind of speed we can hit. This is just pedal assist 1. And like I said, you can go in and adjust your levels in here in the pedal assist. So pedal assist 1 is about 10 miles per hour. And I believe that's set on 50 from the factory. I'll go in a little bit and show you guys, but about 10 to 11 miles per hour, PAS1, PAS2, about 13 to 14 miles an hour. Now we're going downhill. And this bike is a 14 to 28 freewheel in the back, so anything over 20 miles per hour you will feel like you're out of pedal, or pedaling like a hamster. But this bike doesn't really go over 20 miles an hour unless you're going downhill, so it's set up pretty good for its capabilities. So this is pedal assist 2, no problem up this light incline. PAS 3, just pedaling, and the pedal assist is really nice on this, guys. It ramps up really nice and gradual. It's not jerky at all when you start out or when you start pedaling. It just has a really nice slow ramp speed. So about 15 to 16 miles per hour in PAS 3, PAS 4, and again we're going up a slight incline, so we'll have to wait till we get down on more of a level ground for testing out 4 and 5. All right guys, so overall so far pretty nice. Now the one thing that is a little annoying is that the throttle does not work in the PAS levels, so when you're starting out, if you're in a high gear like gear 7 and you're trying to start out and the motor's not engaging yet, you can't use that throttle to start out unless you go all the way down into PAS 0 to get started and then bump it back up, which is a little bit of a workaround and a little bit more work to do, but it can be done. But it would have been definitely a lot nicer if they would have made the PAS work in all the levels as well as 0, because I do really like the throttle working in PAS 0, but it is nice if it would work in all the levels as well. So you can see here PAS 5, and it ramps up very smooth, not jerky at all. Now it does feel like it takes a few seconds for the motor to kick in once you start pedaling when you're actually going. So this is PAS 5, I'm going to start pedaling now, and the motor's just starting to kick in. So like I said, it does take a few seconds, 1, 2, 3, about 3 revolutions of the pedals. That may be able to be adjusted in the settings, I'm not sure. A lot of times you can adjust that in the settings for it to engage a little faster, but very smooth as far as the pickup speed goes, not jerky at all, which is going to be great for new riders or beginning riders that aren't used to an e-bike. So I stopped here to take a little break. We're going to jump into the settings real quick and show you what the PAS levels are set on. Then I'm going to bump PAS level 1 down to see if it actually makes a difference, because some bikes come that look like they're adjustable, but sometimes you adjust things and it just stays the same. So let's check that out. So to get in the settings, you just hold the plus and minus button down and it'll open up this. You hold it down again. TC is trip clear to clear your trip, but hold the plus and minus down again. That'll put you into your other settings. So if you go up to SCA and then hit the button on the top on the side here, you can see it's set for 0 to 5, and you can adjust this from 0 to 3 all the way up to 0 to 9, but we're going to leave it on 0 to 5 for now. Go into there and you can see level 1 set at 50%, so we're going to bump that down to, let's say, I don't know, 25% maybe, and we're going to see what that does. Let's go to 20%. That's as low as it'll go. So we'll put PAS 1 on 20, and we'll leave all the rest the same. 2 is at 61, 3 is at 73, 4 is at 85, and I did change 5 to 100. I believe it was on like 96 or 97. So we'll leave it set for there for now and see what kind of speed we can get with that. Now there is really nothing in the manual that tells you how to adjust any of these settings. You can find it on the internet with different manuals and stuff. It would have been nice if they would have gave you a list of what all the settings were, the things you can change and the things you couldn't, but there really was nothing in the manual about that. So you'll have to just watch videos, or maybe you can get a manual for this type of display online, but just something to keep in mind. So let's go hit a few more hills, test out the power on this bike a little bit more, and just see how it performs overall. I pedal assist 1 with settings turned down to 20. And yeah, the speed is definitely a lot slower now on PAS 1. It's barely giving me any assist. But that's how you can adjust your speeds to match whatever you want for each PAS level, which is really nice if you're trying to adjust your speeds to different bikes. Say you have a different brand bike and their PAS one was at 9 miles per hour, you can adjust that setting down to make it match their bike pretty easily. So that's really nice that they give you at least that adjustment in the settings. So now let's bump it up to 4 and see what 4 is. This is fairly level. 4 is about 18 miles per hour. And now let's go with 5 to see what the max is. And the max in 5 is, like I said before, about 20 miles per hour, 21. And this is the cadence you're gonna have on your pedals, putting pressure on the pedals at max speed at 20 miles per hour. So not too bad for the way it's geared for the speed that this bike does. And it's supposed to rain, and I'm starting to feel raindrops. So hopefully I could hustle up and make it back home before I get wet. I'm really trying to hustle up to make it home, guys, before it rains. I'm not going to try to do a full suspension test, but I got to tell you guys, the suspension on the front of this is pretty nice. Even though it doesn't have adjustability on the lockout side, it does have a preload and has definitely been pretty smooth throughout my ride, especially with these 4-inch fat tires. Let's go off-road here a little bit. Let's go back up on a curb. So pretty nice, and coupled with this suspension seat post, it is really nice and comfortable. If you can't afford the red shift post that I have on here now, which I really recommend as of right now, you could always go with a cheaper Zoom suspension seat post. Won't be quite as comfortable, but is a world of difference compared to not having any. All right, guys, this is one of the steepest hills in my town at 14 degrees. Up there where it gets steeper, so we're gonna see how this bike pulls me up. Right now I'm in 5th gear, probably gonna downshift a little bit to help it out. But see, this is where I'm talking about. You can't use the throttle to get started. You have to wait till that pedal assist kicks in. Let's go down into 1st to help it out a little bit. And you guys should help these bikes out on steep hills like this, especially the 500 watt bikes, because you don't want to burn anything out, your controller or your motor. So just pull me up. I am putting a little bit of effort into it though. My legs are burning just a hair, but pulled me up no problem. And guys, I gotta tell you, really impressed with how quiet this motor is. Really can't hear it really at all. I mean, some of the motors I have on some of my bikes, I mean, they're very noisy. This is very quiet. All right, guys, this is the last long hill before my house, and I'm in PAS 0, just using throttle now, and I'm in gear 1, so we're gonna see if it takes me up this long hill without cutting me power by the time I get to the top. Now this is after 7.2 miles of riding. Shows 7.7 on my GPS, so the speedometer or odometer might be slightly off on this bike. Not putting a whole lot of effort into it, just a little bit. Let's do a little bit of throttle. And this is about 11 miles per hour uphill. So it's not going to be a speed demon up hills, but it does have the power to take you up them as long as you supply a little bit of effort into the pedals yourself. And like I said, I always recommend doing that so that you don't burn anything out. And I'm 165 pounds plus some extra gear in the back bag, so somewhere around 165 to 170 total on this bike right now. And it's pulling me up this hill with no problem. Just putting a little bit of effort into the pedals. Not much at all. So this isn't, like I said, this is an 18 amp controller in here. 14 amp hour Samsung lithium battery. Not quite sure what they have the amperage locked at, because you could change it to 22 in the settings, but I don't believe it's using 22 amps. So I don't know if they have it locked at 18 or 16. Some companies lock them at a certain amperage. Like I said, not sure what this one is locked at, but it has pretty decent power. Not the most powerful of all my 500 watt bikes, but pretty comparable to a lot of them, like the Hay bike and the electric. I would say it's more comparable to the Hay bike maybe. But yeah, I'll give you my final thoughts here in a few minutes, guys. And don't forget to please leave a comment below if you find this video interesting. And don't forget to check out my Instagram to see behind the scenes and previews of some upcoming videos. See you guys in a few minutes. So it looks like the rain's gonna hold off, so let's go over some of the specs and features of this bike in detail. So up here on the handlebars, we have a set of rubber ergonomic grips. They are very hard. These are the same grips that the electric uses. Over here you have a switch to turn your headlight and tail light on and off, and then the horn button below that, which is very loud, like I said. Then you have your up and down for your pedal assist, the power button here, and a mode button here. There is a button here to turn your lights on and off, but that does not work the lights. However, it does dim the display when you push it. So that's kind of nice that you can turn your light on and keep the brightness of your display, because some bikes, when you turn the light on from here, it dims your display even when you don't want it to dim. In the center here, we have a black and white LCD screen that show your miles, your odometer, and then you could toggle through odometer, max speed, average speed, trip, which was 8.1 miles today. And I'm down 2 bars already on the battery. Not going to do a range test today, but we might do one later on. It's kind of hard to tell with me going up all those hills and everything what kind of range I'm going to get out of this battery and whether or not that 14 amp hour holds up, but so far so good. Over here on the right hand side, we have a half twist throttle here, and we have the 7-speed Shimano thumb shifter, which leads down to the 14 to 28 freewheel in the back, which is normally pretty standard on most bikes like this. It's always nice to see when they have a cassette that's upgraded to like 11 to 32 or something, but you can always change that out if you need to. On this bike, you really won't have to or shouldn't need to, because the top speed is around 20 miles per hour. You do have a 500 watt geared hub motor in the back, which looks very similar to the electric hub motor. You have a Shimano Tourney TZ entry level derailleur here that leads up to the 45 tooth chain ring in the front, and a set of Welgo aluminum folding pedals here. The cadence sensor on this bike is not a sealed cadence sensor like you have on a lot of bikes that are on this side, which is really nice, compact, and can stay clean. This is exposed and can get dirty, so over time you will have to probably maybe clean that off here and there. You kind of gotta watch that you don't break that, which you shouldn't, because it's behind the chain here. There is a single-sided chain guard on here, which is plastic. It would have been nice to see a double one on there, but not too bad. It does have a rack on the back that comes with it. It's a steel rack, not super big, perfect for my bag. It's just a little bit smaller than I'm used to on the rack. It looks like there may be some kind of attachment that you could put some kind of seat or something on there. However, I wouldn't recommend that, because riding people on the back of these bikes, for one, you would only be able to ride a small kid, if that, and I wouldn't recommend that, because they can get their feet caught up in the chain and the wheel and stuff like that with no protection here like the Rads usually have behind here. It does come with a set of rear and front metal fenders. They are not aluminum, they are steel fenders, so those will rust if they get nicked up, so keep that in mind. Would have been nice to see aluminum fenders there. I even like the plastic ones that keeps the weight down, and no tinging if you get rocks and things in there. But like I said, one thing, the motor is very quiet on this bike, which was really surprising to me. This bike is sitting on a pair of CST BFT 20x4-inch tires, the same that the electric uses on some of their models. Front suspension fork on the right hand side. There is a lockout, but there is no adjustability there for dampening or anything. You do have a preload on the left hand side that you can preload the springs a little bit. Headlight in the front, and you do have a tail light in the back. However, it's not the brightest tail light, and it's not a brake light, so keep that in mind, guys. It would have been nice to see a brake light included on here, but it is not. It is just a tail light. You do have the mechanical disc brakes that comes down to the 160 millimeter rotors in the Fidel, or Fidel, I believe is how you say it, mechanical calipers. Brakes seem to be fine, guys. No issues with the brakes at all. It is a folding bike. You have the carry handle here. You can fold it in half easily for transport, and the handlebars do fold down. You have a safety locking mechanism here that you open up, which I'm not 100% fond of this here because I had to tighten the screw up to keep it from moving easily. But I mean, it works fine. Would have just been nice to see a switch or something, but the handlebars do fold down, and you could fold the bike up and put it in back of your vehicle pretty easily. The seat that it comes with is very hard. This is actually my Magicycle seat on the Redshift seat post. So this is not the seat that this bike comes with. So that's one thing you would probably want to look into upgrading if you do get this bike. But for the $1,000 price point, $1,100 price point, not too bad of a bike. The only thing that I would keep in mind is maybe the customer service and the potential problems of maybe something missing when you get the bike because of the quality control. And over time, if you ever had to get parts or anything, might be an issue. It may not, I don't know that. I have not really had the bike long enough, or the company I don't believe has been out long enough to be able to tell, but only time will tell if their customer service lives up to any issues or not. I would recommend, normally there will be a Facebook group. I don't know of any currently for this bike, but normally when the bikes become a little bit more popular, Facebook groups come out and then people talking there about customer service and everything. But whether any bike you buy, I would recommend researching that beforehand and just get a good feel for what you need. And hopefully this video helped you guys out. Hopefully you learned something today about the Geleisen or Geleisen, not quite sure how you say it, guys, but please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video or found it helpful. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys around on the next one. Don't forget to check out some of my other videos. Thanks for watching, everyone. Whew.